All right, let's talk about something that's probably been drilled into your head since the first time you ever picked up a weight or stepped on a mat. No pain, no gain. Today, we're going to take that idea, put it under a microscope, and really see if it holds up. Because there's a different philosophy out there, one that's backed by some of the sharpest minds in coaching, sports science, and elite athletics. And this philosophy suggests that the secret to peak performance isn't about destroying yourself. It's about being smarter, more consistent, and frankly, more in tune with your own body. What you're about to hear is going to challenge everything you think you know about getting better. This quote right here, from the legendary MMA coach Faraz Zahabi, we're talking about the guy behind Georges St-Pierre. This is the core of our whole conversation today. Just let that sink in for a second. Wake up feeling good. In the world of serious training, that is a completely radical idea, isn't it? I mean, it goes against everything we've been told. We've been taught that being sore is like a badge of honor, that if you're not totally exhausted, you didn't really work. But what if that whole idea, the very foundation of how most of us approach fitness, is just wrong? And there it is. That's the big question, right? The one that seems like a total contradiction. We know that to get stronger or faster, you have to apply stress to the body so it can adapt. That's just biology. It's called progressive overload. So if we need to push our limits to improve, how on earth is it possible to get better if we're always holding back a little? How can you make progress if you're never completely sore? It sounds like it defies logic, but I promise you the science and the simple math behind it are incredibly powerful. Okay, before we dive deep into this, if you're getting value from this kind of breakdown, it would be a huge help if you take a second to like, share, and subscribe. And hey, check out the links in the description if you happen to be looking for a real estate agent or need life insurance. My team and I can help you out anywhere in the country. Your support is what makes these explainers possible, so thank you. So here's the game plan for today. First, we're going to completely dismantle that no pain, no gain myth. Then we'll get into the simple, undeniable math that proves why a different approach works so much better. After that, we'll talk about the psychology of the flow state and how to make your training feel addictive. From there, we'll hammer home why consistency is always going to beat intensity. We'll even look at how real-world champions train. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with a practical system you can start using tomorrow. All right, let's jump right in and tackle the biggest sacred cow in the entire fitness world, the whole go hard or go home mindset. Now, look, I get why it's popular. It feels productive, right? You leave the gym just completely wiped out, you're sore for days, and you think, man, I must have really accomplished something. But here's the problem. That short-term feeling is often at war with your long-term progress. The data, the burnout rates, they tell a very, very different story. You see, when you push to your absolute limit all the time, you run into a bunch of problems. First, it causes that deep, gnawing muscle soreness that can last for days. And that soreness isn't just an inconvenience, it's your body telling you that you did some serious damage. That damage then forces you to take multiple rest days. So that one epic workout you did on Monday might mean you can't train properly again until Thursday or Friday. You see the issue? It actually reduces your total training time. And of course, when you're training tired and sore, your form goes out the window and your risk of getting hurt just skyrockets. Over time, this whole cycle just leads to one place: burnout. Training becomes a chore you have to force yourself to do.
Okay, so if going hard all the time is the problem, what's the solution? Well, this is where it gets really interesting because the answer lies in some very simple math. We have to shift our thinking. The most important thing for getting better over the long haul isn't how intense you can be in one workout. It's the total volume of quality work you can get done over weeks, months, and years. Let's break down how doing a little less each day actually lets you accomplish way, way more.
Now, to really understand this, we need a tool, and the best one is called the Rate of Perceived Exertion, or RPE. It's just a simple scale from 1 to 10 to measure how hard you feel like you're working. A 1 is you sitting on the couch. A 7 is where you're working hard, breathing heavy, but you could still keep going. And a 10? Well, a 10 is your absolute, all-out, nothing left in the tank max effort. Like if you just did a set of squats to a 10 RPE, you couldn't do one more rep even if someone offered you $1 million. This scale is the key to managing your effort. So let's imagine we have two athletes. Let's call them Athlete A and Athlete B. They're identical in strength. Both of them can do a maximum of 10 pull-ups in one set. Athlete A follows the no pain, no gain rule. On Monday, he goes in and grinds out those 10 pull-ups. It's a true 10 out of 10 effort. He's totally spent. The result? He's so sore on Tuesday and Wednesday, he has to take them off. Now, let's look at Athlete B. He also has a 10-rep max, but he's training smarter. On Monday, he just does 5 reps. A nice, clean set. He feels great. So on Tuesday, he comes back and does another 5 perfect reps. And he does it again on Wednesday and again on Thursday. And here's where the magic happens. By the time Thursday rolls around, Athlete A is just starting to feel recovered. His total for the week, 10 reps. But athlete B, who never pushed himself to the brink, has already done 20 reps. He's literally done double the work with less pain, better form on every single rep, and zero burnout. Now imagine that difference compounded over a month, a year. Who do you think is going to be stronger? It's not even a debate. The math is just undeniable. And you know, this isn't just for pull-ups. It's even more important for skill sports. Take jiu-jitsu. Let's say you train twice a week, and every time you go, it's a war. You roll 5 super hard rounds, and you leave feeling completely beat up. That's 10 hard rounds a week. Meanwhile, I'm training 5 times a week, but I only do 3 moderate technical rounds each day. I'm there to learn, not to win in the gym. At the end of the week, you've done 10 exhausting rounds. I've done 15 focused technical rounds. I got 50% more practice, and I still feel fresh and ready to learn more. So this just completely flips the script on what the goal of training is. It's not about surviving your workout. The real question, the one that separates the pros from the amateurs, is how much quality training can I accumulate over a long period of time? The answer is always to stop pushing to failure. By dialing back the intensity just a little bit, you unlock the ability to be far more consistent. And it's that consistency, stacked up over time, that builds real mastery. Okay, we've covered the math, but there's another huge piece of this puzzle, and it's all about psychology. For any system to really work long-term, it has to be something you actually enjoy doing. This is where the idea of the flow state comes in. It's the secret to making your training so engaging that you get pulled towards it, instead of having to constantly push yourself to do it. So this term flow comes from a psychologist named Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, and he basically described it as being in the zone. You know that feeling, right? You're so focused on what you're doing that everything else just melts away. Your sense of self, your worries, even time itself seems to change. An hour can feel like 5 minutes. It's that perfect state where you feel your best and you perform your best. It's the ultimate sweet spot.
So how do we find this flow state? Well, this chart explains it perfectly. Flow lives in that channel right between anxiety and boredom. See, if the challenge is way too high for your current skill level, you feel anxious and stressed out. It's just overwhelming. But if the challenge is too low for your skill level, you get bored. Flow happens right in the middle, where the challenge is perfectly matched to your ability. It's hard enough to keep you totally focused, but not so hard that it becomes frustrating.
And this quote just nails it. Think about it. If going to the gym was as addictive as a great video game, everyone would be in amazing shape. The problem is, in fitness, people constantly push themselves into that anxiety zone. They make the challenge so ridiculously high by trying to max out every single time that the experience becomes stressful. It becomes something you dread instead of something you look forward to. But when you learn to train inside that flow channel, the whole game changes. Training becomes a pulling force in your life. You don't have to rely on willpower to drag yourself to the gym because the experience itself is rewarding. You want to go. Motivation stops being an issue because you're creating this positive feedback loop that makes you excited to come back and do it again. We're at a really good spot to pause for a second here. So before we tie all this together, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And remember to check out the links in the description if you're looking for a real estate agent in your market or you need life insurance. My team and I can help you anywhere nationwide. Okay, let's keep going. So we have the simple math of volume, and we have the powerful psychology of flow. Let's combine them into what is probably the most important rule of all. Consistency will always beat intensity. That whole idea of giving 110% every single day, it's not just bad advice. It's literally impossible. Let's be real about what a true 10 out of 10 effort is. By definition, it's something that you can't do very often. If you could, it wasn't really your max, was it? Think about the world's fastest sprinters. These are people who live on the cutting edge of intensity. They only go all out maybe once or twice a week. Why? Because the toll it takes on their body and their nervous system is enormous. Pushing that hard constantly just leads to breakdown. The legendary wrestler Dan Gable was famous for his insane intensity, but his body was paying the price by the time he was in his 20s. He was one of the greatest ever, but you have to wonder if he could have been even better for even longer if he had trained a little smarter. Now, this whole philosophy isn't just some nice theory. It's a proven method used by some of the most dominant athletic programs in history. These aren't just one-off examples. These are dynasties built on the idea of smart, sustainable work. So let's pull back the curtain and see how the best of the best actually train. If you look at sports history, you can kind of see 2 big schools of thought. There's the traditional American model, which often glorified intensity and toughness, these brutal practices a few times a week. And then you have the old Eastern block model, especially in sports like wrestling and gymnastics. Their entire system was built on volume. Athletes trained almost every single day, but the practices were more about technique, skill, and were often described as being playful. This approach led to a mind-boggling amount of skill accumulation over time and way less burnout. I mean, just look at the Russian wrestlers. They've dominated the sport for decades. Their system is basically a factory for producing technical wizards. Their practices often start out super light, almost like a game, just focused on movement and flow. They understand that to become a master, you need thousands upon thousands of perfect reps, not just a few all-out wars in the practice room.
You see the exact same thing with the Cuban boxers, another program that consistently produces world and Olympic champions. If you watch them train, it's not a bloodbath, it's touch sparring. They're not trying to knock each other's heads off. They're focused on the skill of boxing, the footwork, the timing, the defense. They're getting in countless repetitions without the wear and tear and brain damage that ends careers early.
The great boxing trainer Angelo Dundee, who trained Muhammad Ali, said it best. Fighting is for fight night. In practice, it's only practice. Modern champions like Georges St-Pierre lived by this. GSP was known for being a great training partner because he was there to learn, not to hurt people. He knew that by keeping his partners healthy, he guaranteed he'd have good people to train with tomorrow, next week, next year. He saved the real fight for fight night.
Okay, so we've torn down the old myths, we've looked at the math, the psychology, and the real-world examples. So the big question is, how do you actually use this stuff? Let's build a simple, practical system you can start using in your very next workout.
If you only remember one thing from this entire breakdown, let it be this number, 7. As in 7 out of 10 on that RPE scale. This should be your target for the vast majority of your training days. It's the sweet spot. It's hard enough to make you better, but it's not so hard that it crushes you and prevents you from coming back tomorrow. Save those 9s and 10s for rare occasions, like a competition or a planned testing day. Your everyday work should live at a 7.
This requires a complete mental shift. Stop thinking of your workouts as something that's supposed to drain you. Think of exercise as a tonic. It should give you energy, not take it away. You should walk out of the gym feeling better, sharper, and more energized than when you walked in. If you started your workout feeling like a 7 out of 10, a great workout should leave you feeling like an 8.5. If it takes you from a 7 down to a 3, you went too far.
And here's how simple it is to put this into practice. Let's call it the Daily Tonic Method. First, just check in with yourself. How are you feeling today, 1 to 10? Second, start your workout, keeping that effort level around a 7. Third, and this is key, pay attention to that feeling of rising energy. There's a point where you'll feel that boost, that I feel great moment. That's your cue to stop. Fourth, leave the gym feeling better than you did when you got there. And the final, most important step, repeat it the next day. Now, it's also really important to understand that there are 2 kinds of fitness. You have your specific fitness, which is actually practicing your sport, and then you have your general fitness, your strength and conditioning. The goal of that general fitness is not to beat you up. Its purpose is to make your body stronger and more resilient so you can practice your specific skill more often without getting hurt. Your conditioning should always support your skill work, never take away from it. Now, this brings us to something like CrossFit. It's produced some incredible athletes, no doubt. But from the perspective we're talking about today, a common critique is that it can become fatigue-seeking. The goal can sometimes turn into just getting exhausted for the sake of it. For a skill athlete, that's a problem. You can't master the details of your sport if your body's always recovering from a brutal conditioning session. The solution isn't to quit if you love it. It's to apply that 70 to 85% rule. The top athletes in that sport aren't going 100% every day. They're masters of volume management. At the end of the day, this is all about playing the long game. People see the final few weeks of a fighter's camp and think that's how they train all year round. But that's just the tiny tip of the iceberg. They're not seeing the years and years of consistent, moderate, technical work that built the foundation. Champions are built over thousands of smart hours, not just a few brutal weeks. So I'll just leave you with this final thought. What could you truly master in your life? Whether it's a sport, an instrument, anything, if your daily practice actually gave you energy instead of draining it? What could you accomplish if you weren't constantly battling soreness and burnout? If you could show up every single day feeling good, focused, and ready to learn, just think about what would be possible.
And that's our look at working out smarter. If this gave you a new perspective,
Please share it with someone you think could benefit from it. And one last time, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And please check out those links in the description if you're looking for a real estate agent or need life insurance, because my team and I would be happy to help you out wherever you are. Thanks for watching, and go train smart.